Hello everybody and welcome to another brothercrypt video. Today I'm going to be covering token of the week. My selection for token of the week goes to LendingBlock. Now I've given LendingBlock my token of the week because I really think it's a great product. I really think that they're doing a great project. I've been fortunate enough to meet the team on multiple occasions, and I really think that they have a good management structure. And I've met some of the nicest people in crypto, I believe. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, here we've got the LendingBlock website, and their tagline is LendingBlock, cross-chain lending for the digital economy. And what LendingBlock tends to offer is an exchange for borrowing and lending cryptocurrencies and then eventually digital assets. It intends to enable borrowers and lenders to enter into cross-chain, fully collateralized crypto versus crypto lending agreements pioneered by smart contracts. That was a bit of a breather. But basically, what LendingBlock are offering is that if you have crypto, you'll have the ability to basically exchange it with other crypto. The cryptocurrencies that will be initially supported on the LendingBlock platform are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Ripple XRP. And users can borrow any of these 5 cryptocurrencies and use any other 4 cryptocurrencies as collateral. Now, I think the last token of the week I did with you guys was for Babs. Thank you for all of the feedback. I appreciate the views, appreciate all of the comments, but I was told that unfortunately at about 15 minutes it was too long. So I'm really doing my best to make all of the information concise. However, unfortunately it's going to be as long as it takes. So just bear that in mind. I am aware that some of my token of the weeks and coin of the week reviews do take long, but I am trying my best to shorten them as much as possible. Moving on. Now, what I'm going to do for the rest of this token review is I'm going to review the white paper. I'm going to mention 5 scenarios why any individual or institution would want to use crypto-to-crypto loans through lending agreements. I think the LendingBlock solution will be used by institutional investors who wish to implement and leverage the LendingBlock platform for more complex trading and intricate medium to long-term investment strategies. This is good in my opinion, and as institutions will bring volume into the platform, and as the LND token is used to pay for lender fees and also borrowers' interest payments, this gives the token an A grade in my opinion for utility and value. So let's move on to the team. Now, one of the first people I came across who reached out to me via LinkedIn was a lady called Linda Wang. Linda Wang is a co-founder of LendingBlock. So let's just look into her background and let's just look at her experience. So she spent some time working for Token Card. I'm really not familiar with what Token Card is, but yes, she's also spent a year working for this company, Lender Limited. Lender has built robo-advice technology for the mortgage industry. They automate provisions of mortgage advice. Okay. And moving further down, she's also spent 2 years at Deloitte, which is a UK situated, well, I guess Deloitte are a global company, but they're certainly here in the UK, and she's been working for them for 2 years as a technology consultant. She's also spent a year working in Cambridge as a judge at Judge Business School. It looks like she also studied at the University of Cambridge, so definitely an all-star in my opinion. Now let's look at another co-founder and CEO, Steve Swan. Now, Steve also worked for Deloitte. He also worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and he also worked as the head of credit risk technology for UBS. And he's also worked for the head of market risk technology for Credit Suisse, and he's also worked as a head of risk technology for Lehman Brothers as well. So definitely an experienced caliber individual again, in my opinion. Now, the Chief Technology Officer is called Luca. So let's quickly look at Luca's experience as well. We can see that Luca has spent around 7 months working as a senior quant developer for the Bank of America Merrill Lynch. He has also spent 11 months as a CTO for BMLL Technologies, and he's also spent 5 years working as a quantitative developer for Citi. So obviously he's worked as a quant, somebody in the mathematical and sort of statistical programming for many of these financial institutions. I'm guessing the work that he's going to do for LendingBlock is going to be more or less a piece of cake in comparison to what he's done in other projects. And he's also had a stint for 3 years working in Nomura, the Japanese bank. So definitely an all-star of some of the management structure who have experience working of large financial institutions, all based in the City of London. And let's also look at Charles Beach. He's the Chief Operation Officer. It looks like he's had 2 previous roles in LendingBlock, one as advisory risk and regulation, and now as the COO. Prior to that, he worked for IG as a credit risk officer. Prior to that, he worked for UBS, the Swiss bank, and he's also probably had a stint of at PricewaterhouseCoopers as well, spending 11 years there. So very well, strong, accomplished team in my opinion. Moving on, we've also got a business analyst. She looks a lot less senior, and she has a very short amount of experience in comparison, to some of the management. That's just my observation. Nothing really meant by it. And she's had about just over 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, working for HSBC in various positions as well. And finally, we've got one of their advisors, a guy called Andrew as well. So Andrew is currently advising LendingBlock, but he has experience as working as he has experience coming as a co-founder of Funding Circle. Now, I'm familiar with Funding Circle because I called these guys once to inquire about a loan, and they've been sending me all this bullshit marketing material for almost the last 3 years. But they are a startup which started in around about 2010, but then they have quite a big presence here in the UK as well. So I'm sure it's going to be good for LendingBlock to sort of, get advisory help from Andrew to be able to, find their niche type of clients, although those are institutional clients. And then we can see that Andrew's also had a stint at Nomura and Ernst & Young as well. So, yeah, that's really what I wanted to cover for all of the team. Now, one of the things that I wanted to make you aware of, I should have stated this at the beginning, I did actually invest into the LendingBlock ICO back in, I believe it was April, around about the first week or mid-April. And prior to investing, just I think a day before or two to investing, I'd been doing my due diligence on LendingBlock and been following them. And then I found out that they were doing like a sort of main sale sort of drinks and socializing. So I was able to get myself down there, and then I was able to meet them. So basically they held an invite-only private event And I reached out to Steve and said, could I come? I'm going to be investing into your ICO. It'd be really good to meet you and the team. And then I went down to Token House in London. So Token House is a pub, it's a restaurant, it's situated in Moorgate, and I believe if you check the registered address of LendingBlock, you'll see that they're situated in Moorgate as well. So I'm just giving you some pictures just for Moorgate. So this is the actual venue, and unfortunately I checked my camera, I didn't manage to take any pictures when I was at the actual event, but it was a really nice sort of venue, and it was really good to meet the team. I actually met their community manager as well, a chap called Alex, and I was able to speak to him and some of his associates, and I really felt it was good, to meet, to match a face to these people and really get to meet them in the flesh. And that's why I like investing into some of the London projects as well. Okay, and yes, this was close to the area where we were congregating and having drinks, and I think the turnout was about 20 or 30 people. And when I left, I was able to get one of their very stylish LendingBlock hats as well with the LB logo on it, so I'm very pleased. Okay, now in the process of being able to collate this information, I quickly checked CoinMarketCap today, and we can see, yay, that we have LendingBlock. Let me just make this bigger for you. We can see that we have LendingBlock has been one of today's biggest gainers in the crypto market, with their their market cap increasing by 31.16% in the last 24 hours. So that's really good. If we just look at their page closer, we can see that right now they have a market capital of just under 6 million. It's a little bit worrying, but then again, it's not. Just before I get into some of the details about the token sale, I just want to say that through the ICO, LendingBlock really set out to raise, or they evaluated, their market capital at 10 million. And given the decline of Bitcoin, given the sort of depression in the market, it's understandable, why their market capital evaluation is currently, less than it was valued at the ICO. However, their ICO was only in April, and between April to now, June, almost 2 months later, we are still more or less in a bull market. So it's just something to be aware of, guys. And if you like what you're hearing, if you haven't looked across LendingBlock before, but you like what you hear, now would be a perfect time to be able to buy their token off the exchange, because you will actually get it than the cheaper ICO price. And look at this. This company, only 2 months into their ICO, they are valued at just under $6 million. That is a bargain. In my opinion, I expect them to definitely get to a $50 million valuation by the end of the year, or latest in Q1. And then I'm thinking in the middle of 2019, they should be, if things go well, they should have $100 million valuation, so a 10x. All right. So maybe we'll come back to this later. Let's move on. So what I've done is I've looked through the white paper, and I've highlighted, some of the best bits that I wanted to share with you from the white paper. I will try and make this as quick as possible, but I really think it's better to inform everybody as best as possible, so you get the full picture on LendingBlock. LendingBlock is an open exchange for borrowing and lending cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It allows borrowers and lenders to enter into fully collateralized crypto versus crypto lending agreements. Lenders can earn incremental interest on their long-term investment in digital assets, while borrowers can use their digital assets as collateral to enable borrowing to support shorter-term trading, hedging, and working capital. So let's just quickly look at their mission. and I've just highlighted some of the best bits about, the white paper I wanted to share with you. LendingBlock is a protocol and platform designed to enable and encourage borrowing and lending within the crypto financial system. LendingBlock is creating the market and financial infrastructure for securities lending in the crypto economy. LendingBlock will be the first exchange for crypto asset-backed loans that meets the need of institutional and individual borrowers and lenders in the crypto economy. All right, now the next part is, just to get into some of their background, the growth of crypto assets. 2017 saw rapid growth in the scale and maturity of the crypto economy, driven by a combination of growth in price of established coins and emergence of initial coin offerings, ICOs, as a viable and vibrant mechanism for raising funds or early stage companies, with over 300 issues gathering $2 billion in initial investment. The success of this fundraising approach, combined with the speed and simplicity advantages of both companies and investors, mean that ICOs are likely to continue to gain popularity and expense of long-standing capital raising methods. All right, so I just really wanted to fast forward this, and I wanted to cover some parts of the securities lending section as well. So, global securities lending market key statistics as of March 9th, 2017. On loan value, 200 trillion plus 180 billion year on year. Lendable value, 16.04 trillion plus 2.75 trillion year on year. Unique securities on loan, 45,200. Non-cash collateral as a percentage of loan balance, 60.52% plus 6.39% year on year. Lenders globally earned 9.16 trillion in securities lending revenues in 2016. Those are huge figures. And in their white paper, they go on to say that we believe that markets for securities lending will be replicated in the blockchain asset economy, particularly in light of the continued growth in the value of crypto asset market and the entry at scale of institutional participants and fund. LendingBlock is designed to facilitate the growth of securities lending in the crypto economy. So if we just move on to this section, evolution and emergence of lending. So really, they've just looked at three sort of methods of crypto lending in this space. One is margin lending. Numerous exchanges offer the ability to do margin lending on their own exchanges. However, these loans are self-contained on centralized platforms, making it impossible for borrowed funds to leave the platform. Crypto to fiat lending. Lending conventional currencies secured by cryptocurrencies is a service offered by a small number of new businesses. However, high levels of fiat crypto volatility means that levels of collateralization required are significantly higher than crypto versus crypto, where correlations are higher and fiat integration is fundamentally more complex than a model which focuses purely on digital assets. Credit score lending. Credit score based lending services, including those that rely on trusted lending circles and networks and manual services that involved high levels of disclosure of personal information, are primarily focused on small-scale consumer loans. Okay, so really that breaks down, the different types of lending facilities that there are currently in the market in terms of securities and perhaps cryptocurrencies. And what they continue to go on to say is that at LendingBlock, we believe that creating the financial infrastructure for blockchain-based securities lending will address a critical and unserved need. Okay, so scrolling down, let's look at the platform definition. LendingBlock is creating an open exchange for borrowing and lending crypto assets. Holders of digital assets will be able to generate stable and secure returns without sacrificing the benefits of ownership. And borrowers who hold digital assets will be able to use these digital assets as collateral to borrow at market rates to support funding, hedging, or investment strategies. Okay, just moving on, there was a section that I saw about borrowers. Yeah, so, earlier on I stated I would cover some of the reasons why somebody would want to use the platform, and it reads as follows. Borrowers will be typical of users of existing securities lending, including hedge funds, investment managers, market makers, and proprietary traders. They will have a need to borrow digital assets for multiple purposes, which include short selling, hedging, arbitrage, and, fails-driven borrowing as well. And then they've outlined their processes as well. The borrower process has 5 stages, which consists of registration, specification, initiation, servicing, and finalization as well. And then the same also more or less applies to the lenders as well. Apart from them doing servicing, they need to do operation as well. So the other section I really wanted to share with you was more about their operations as well. So in their white paper, they've outlined, liquidity. As with two-sided marketplace, establishing an initial critical mass of supply and demand for LendingBlock is essential. This ensures that sufficient liquidity exists, that both borrowers and lenders are consistently able to buy a match for their needs, and enables the subsequent development of network effects where more borrowers attract more lenders and vice versa. To reach this critical mass, there will be a strong ongoing focus on attracting new borrowers and lenders. This will include global community engagement, targeted business development, and institutional sales in Asia, Europe, and the Americas, as well as global multi-channel marketing. Additionally, there will be a partnership development program to identify and establish commercial partnerships with other ecosystem participants. Okay, and next, I thought another important section was regulatory approval. This touched on one of the questions that I did ask Steve, when I met him in face-to-face. What are they doing about regulations? And let me just read this to you first. While the regulatory environment and attitude towards digital assets is still evolving, it is our intention to work with appropriate authorities towards achieving regulatory approval for LendingBlock at the earliest opportunity. Our decision to incorporate and establish LendingBlock operations in Gibraltar is in part driven by the progressive positions of Gibraltar Financial Services Commission, GFSC, has taken defining a regulatory framework for distributed ledger technology businesses. Okay, that's very good. I believe, as well as them working with, the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission, they're also working with the Financial Conduct Authority, I believe. Please don't quote me to it, but this was, my thoughts that I was left with after talking and meeting to Steve, because their office is situated here in London, but obviously they've registered their company in Gibraltar. So I'm still wondering that probably they will have to, get some form of regulatory approval also by the London UK authority, which is known as the Financial Conduct Authority. And, you know, almost finishing up, we've got a section for financials as well. Growth rate of lendable crypto assets. Now, annual growth rate of crypto economy based on a starting position of 500 billion, which represents digital asset market capitalization at the end of 217. So, you know, in a pessimistic situation, you know, they reckon that the market for lendable crypto assets could reach a total of just under $1 trillion at 975 billion by 2020. Realistically, they've also got an evaluation of total assets, you know, reaching 1.687 trillion in 2020. And then in an optimistic sort of situation, they have given, you know, an evaluation of 4 trillion in 2020 as well. I actually think that their evaluations are quite fair and in line. My actual calculation of the market capital, I'm expecting it to be anywhere from, you know, 1.1 right down to around about 900 billion. Excuse me, let me say that again. So my estimation for the market capital, I'm expecting it to be anywhere from around 900 billion by the end of this year, right up to 1.1 or 1.2 trillion. Those are just my figures based on, you know, what I've been hearing and who I've been talking to. Now they've also got an element on transaction fees as well, because, you know, I think this is important. It's good that we know how the token is going to get fed and how it's going to have its value. But basically, they have, you know, 3 different scenarios for their transaction fee as well. You know, in a pessimistic market, they think that, you know, their fees will be 0.75. And then realistically, they think their fees will be double this, 1.5%. And then optimistically, they think that their fees will be around 3% as well. Okay. And then they have a section just on market share as well. One of the things that I highlighted was that 27 million in the 3rd year of operations, applying realistic assumptions results in a projected revenue in excess of 379 million in the 3rd year, and applying optimistic assumptions to each factor results in revenue in excess of 5 billion. So I think, you know, they potentially can generate quite substantial amounts of money, but this certainly is not going to be done overnight. I think if you're looking for a quick flip, you know, ICO, you want to make your money back in 3 months or 6 months, this is certainly not the project. But I've gone into this, you know, with a long-term perspective and a long-term hold as well. So just moving on, this final point, enforceability of a cryptocurrency loan and collateral. From a legal perspective, the loan will be structured as an outright transfer of ownership in the crypto being loaned. The collateral will be provided by a way of security held by an appointed security trustee, with lenders unable to access the collateral. Upon a borrower default, the security trustee will administer the liquidation of the collateral following a predefined process and distributing the proceeds to lenders. So basically, you know, it looks like they're going to have a third-party holder of the cryptocurrency, and in the event where a lender defaults and doesn't pay their interest back, then their cryptocurrency will be liquidated and it will be used to pay back, you know, the borrower. So it sounds, you know, very interesting. One of the things that I did like with their white paper is that it read like a high-level specification. So it really gave me the feel that they have considered you know, every element sort of their offering and have really shared it with the public. And this was done at the ICO stage. And a lot of white papers that I read, they don't have this level of detail and clarity, which is reassuring. So another section I wanted to cover is quickly this dispute resolution. The distributed nature of blockchains creates potential uncertainty as to where and how disputes should be resolved. Even if crypto lending agreements are documented using smart contracts, disputes may still arise over enforcement of non-blockchain collateral, valuation of collateral on enforcement, breach of subsidy obligations by lenders or borrowers, or on insolvency of a borrower. There may also be disputes with the operator of the crypto lending platform and any security trustee, especially where they are required to exercise discretion, such as in the liquidation of collateral. And the regulatory landscape as well. This is covered in the next section. LendingBlock intends to take proactive stance on the issue of regulation and welcomes appropriate regulation on the basis that it will help the cryptocurrency markets to become more established, introduce more safeguards, and reduce current regulatory uncertainty that is in itself causing increased volatility in the market. And we should be soon finishing up. Let's just look at some of the token details as well. So LendingBlock is also known as LND, and it is currently an ERC20 compliant token. The LND token functions as the currency of which within LendingBlock economy, interest payments for loans paid by borrowers and received by lenders will be made using LND. For example, a loan of BTC secured by ETH collateral will result in lenders being paid LND by the borrower. Lenders can then use this earned LND to pay interest on loans of their own or sell the LND in a secondary market to other borrowers. Okay, and then just covering the tokenomics as well, you know, they've stated, you know, 4 factors that can demonstrate the evaluation of the LND token, which is, you know, demand, the length of time, and also the total volume of LND in circulation and investor sentiments as well. So I think we're just going to wrap up shortly by reviewing this white paper. But before we do, I just really wanted to check out some elements of the token sale. Now, the token sale has already finished, but I just wanted to cover some of the parts that I didn't necessarily like. And that was, you know, is that 25 million LND will be offered during private sales. A bonus of 1-to-1 bonus will be awarded at the private sale. Now, I didn't necessarily like the bonus because it seemed like 100% bonus. For every token that you buy, you'll get another one free. However, you know, after checking with more due diligence, the private sale only applied to, you know, $500 worth, so it was like about 5% of what they were raising. So it was a small amount, but I don't think that people should be giving away, you know, more or less 100% bonus. It's not really fair, but then again, it was for some of the earliest private sales, and it was for such a small amount as well. Point 14, bonus LND will be subjected to a 60-day holding period. I think that was quite a short holding period, especially for that level of bonus, which is probably why, you know, there might be a little bit of a dump that has occurred. A 5-to-1 bonus award will apply to the pre-sales period, so that an additional 75 million LND will be awarded to investors. So basically, if you got in at the pre-sale, then you had the opportunity for you to get a 20% bonus. And there's just one more element. Yeah, the team, partnerships and bounty. So 250 million LND, 25% of the total supply, were distributed to the founding team, employees hired in the last 12 months, advisors, and pre-ICO service providers, including participants in marketing and security bounty programs as well. So I think, you know, it looks like they sold somewhere between 50 to 60% to the public throughout the various different rounds of sales, and then they kept 25% for themselves. I think that's, you know, very fair. And quickly, if I jump to 8.4, I can just share with you how some of the funds were used. Yep, so 50% used on growing the technical team and selective use of third parties to continue product development, 20% for developing core platform services, 20% for developing user tools, and 10% developing integrations with partner organizations, including exchanges and wallet providers. 15% of funds used for marketing and sales, 15% of funds used on external services, including independent technical and legal expertise. 10% of funds will be used on core management, and 10% of funds will be retained as a contingency to cover unforeseen circumstance or overruns in any of the expense categories above. So really, that was, you know, my my guide of the white paper with you. I think it's very interesting, and if you want to read the white paper yourself, you can get it from their website just at this address too. Okay, now moving on, one of the things I really wanted to cover was the roadmap as well. So as we can see from the roadmap, we can see that in Q3 of this year, they are currently looking at doing their closed user group testing, and they are going to be testing, you know, with 4 main currencies, and I believe that, you know, the testing is only going to be open to some of their institutionalized groups as well. And it's good that they're actually going to be testing with their REST API. So basically, an API is an application program interface. It enables, you know, your website to be able to connect to a third-party system or a website. So this is also a very strong factor for me on the LendingBlock project, is that they're opening up their platform to integrate with other institutions and, you know, their software and their services. So if you go to the LendingBlock website, they have a demo button where you can actually, you know, just play around with the demo version of their website. However, institutions that are going to be using their platform, they're going to integrate their interface into their systems. So it's going to make it a lot more seamless for some of their institutional investors, you know, to be using and trading and swapping crypto to crypto assets as well. And then in Q4, they're going to be introducing Ripple, but then instead of a closed user group, I believe that they're going to be onboarding perhaps more institutional investors, and then making you know, just opening up their platforms to other individuals, and probably do a more formal onboarding process. So around about Q4, probably anywhere from, you know, in September, this is really where we should start to see the utility of the LendingBlock token, the LND token, really starting to come into play, really start to being used. However, it might also be used as early as July, because the testing is in July. My expectation is that some of these, you know, institutional users participated in the token sales already have tokens as well, and they might be using their tokens. But really, we should start seeing things kick off in September as well. Then in the first quarter, basically they're going to be going live, and they're going to have open access to institutions, and they're going to be introducing something called LendingBlock Borrowing Index. I'm not too sure what that is. And then, you know, roughly in Q2, anywhere from March 2019, their platform's going to be open up to retail lenders as well. That should be interesting. But like I said earlier, I believe that the majority of the value and the utility of their coin are going to be used from institutions as well. Okay, now let's move on from the roadmap. And one of the things I wanted to check is, you know, what are the LendingBlock people doing now? So LendingBlockLibrary.com, you know, has information and sort of documents that LendingBlock have provided. And it looks like now that their ICO is finished, they're working on hiring, they're working on product development, strategic partnerships, business development, and regulatory authorization, managing risk and compliance requirements as well. So this just gives you a snapshot to show you what LendingBlock are currently working on. The next section I wanted to cover was some of their partnerships as well. So if we look at the LendingBlock website, they have a section, you know, they have a section here saying institutional demand is here. It might not be here right now, but it certainly is coming. However, with that said, you know, LendingBlock, they are probably a little bit more integrated with institutions than I am. So maybe my opinion is wrong. So from their perspective, institutional demand is certainly here because they've provided or created strategic relationships or strategic partners, we know, with 4 juggernaut investment companies. One is Octagon Strategy and, you know, Astronaut Capital and Alpha Block Investments and Global Blockchain Innovative Capital. We'll come back to this, but quickly, Astronaut Capital, you know, I've heard of them, and then in the process of compiling more information, I was able to see that they also invested into Cork Chain, into Bread, into Loki Network, into Fick Network, and into Haven, and also into Self-Key as well. So they've invested into some of the same ICOs that I've wanted to, but certainly they've invested into quite a lot of the high profile, what might be deemed as quality ICOs recently. Another partner that LendingBlock have partnered with is Octagon Strategy as well. So if we check Octagon Strategy, Octagon Strategy will join the LendingBlock Institution Advisory Group to trial and launch the LendingBlock platform's unique real-time exchange for cryptocurrencies. For cryptocurrencies, cross-chain borrowing and lending of cryptocurrency assets. As part of the partnership, Octagon Strategy will join the LendingBlock Institutional Advisory Group and launch the LendingBlock platform's unique real-time exchange for fully collateralized cross-chain borrowing and lending of cryptocurrency assets. I'm delighted to announce that we have the support of one of the largest cryptocurrency brokerage firms in the world, said Steve Swan, CEO of LendingBlock. Octagon Strategy has established itself as the go-to institutional brokerage for the cryptocurrency market and brings extensive industry expertise and unique market insight that will be invaluable leading up to our launch later this year. There's a great compatibility between LendingBlock and Octagon Strategy's teams, as we are fully aligned in our aim to create the highest standards of financial services within the cryptocurrency space. Okay, so that was actually taken on the Octagon Strategy Medium in this interview, which is very true. And you know, it looks like Octagon themselves, I really wasn't able to see what projects that they had invested in, but as Steve Swan said in their interview, they are the go-to institutional brokerage for the cryptocurrency market. So, in my opinion, it sounds like they hold a lot of crypto, and they seem like they'll be a good partner to either introduce into other institutional investors as well, or for Octagon strategies for them to be able to use the platform as well. So it seems like, LendingBlock are creating strategic relationships in the right places. Now, if we look back, another one that invested or is a strategic partner of LendingBlock is Global Blockchain Innovative Capital. So I quickly checked out their website, and then I could see that they've also invested into things like Icon, into Theta, into AOF, Thunder Token coming up. Look into this, guys. Thunder Token is going to be big. We can see LendingBlock, Mainframe, QuantStamp, and WePower, and also IoTex as well. So those are just some that I'm familiar with, which look like good projects, and it looks like Global Blockchain Innovative Capital have invested in some good quality projects as well. So I'm almost coming to the end of why, in my opinion, LendingBlock is token of the week. Just before I finish up, I just really wanted to share some of my thoughts with you. But before I do share my thoughts, I really wanted to get the conclusions of some of the other companies that have invested in LendingBlock as well, such as Astronaut Capital. And I really think I just really wanted to take some of the strengths and weaknesses that they pointed out. So strengths. As the cryptocurrency market matures, traditional practices that are utilized in the equities markets are already making their way successfully into the ecosystem. As access to transparent margin trading and leverage is still in the early days, it is our expectation that solutions such as LND will be welcomed by market participants that are seeking more complex and trading and investment strategies as well. Weakness. While commercial experience of the team appears to be on a high side, we believe that the technical team may be lacking. Given the size of the project, it is assumed that onboarding of new technical staff will likely occur post-funding. All right, and I just really wanted to touch on the opportunities. Providing API access for the platform may prove to be a large draw card for institutions and innovate applications that are seeking to add a lending component to their product service. While LendingBlock has not yet indicated any partnerships with wallet providers, we do see this as a large opportunity for integration in the future. It is likely that asset management firms that are holding significant amount of crypto cash may seek to lend or borrow to rebalance or restructure their portfolio. In essence, the LendingBlock platform could pave the way to more efficient margin trading, shortening of instruments, and interest-based structured products. Threats. LendingBlock faces competition from ETHLend and Celsius Network. While the competition doesn't exist, we believe institutions targeting will allow LendingBlock to catch up quickly. Delaying launching of the platform is a significant threat. With a lack of technical personnel, the team is targeting an ambitious Q2 development and Q3 launch. Our expectation is that this may be delayed if they are seeking to deploy a finished and polished product. Lack of funds may lead to lack of adoption. While LendingBlock is targeting a higher grade of user, market awareness is a must. Marketing and awareness efforts for pre-sale and public sale have been quite low. Lack of community support may slow the token sale process. However, it is likely that an influx of participants will appear once the sale becomes active. Conclusion. Astronaut is connected to LendingBlock Venture and believes that it is properly executed. The platform has the ability to be a substantial player in the institutional marketplace. For the reasons listed below, Astronaut is taking exposure to LendingBlock. The deal structure is compelling with a small hard cap and a limit on private sale dominance. The institutional focus is a significant differentiator in the marketplace and will likely achieve much higher transactional volume than with competitors much faster. While we do not agree with the current market valuation of ETHLend, it provides a very promising outlook for LendingBlock, with only 4,000 ETH put through ETHLend as of February 2018. The market is placing a 30x valuation on it based on transactional multiple. If there is a strict focus on institutional users, LendingBlock should achieve far greater volumes much faster, leading to significant appreciation in market capitalization using the same metric. So really, that's all I wanted to share with you in terms of Astronaut Capital perspective on LendingBlock. You know, just a quick evaluation of some of the strengths and also quick consideration of one of the weaknesses, but then their conclusion. I could share my conclusions with you, but my conclusions were very similar to Astronaut Capital, and Astronaut also invested into LendingBlock and is one of their strategic partners. So I thought this review might have a little bit more credibility if I shared their perspective. And also I checked Crypto Differ as well, and you know, this company Populous Research gave 4 stars to their review of LendingBlock. Let me just share what they said. We are attracted to the LendingBlock venture and believe that if properly executed, the platform has the ability to be a substantial player in the institutional marketplace. For the reasons listed below, we consider LendingBlock to be a medium long-term hold. The deal structure is compelling, and a small hard cap and a limit on private sale dominance. The institutional focus is a significant differentiator in the marketplace and will likely achieve much higher transactional volume than any competitor faster. We do not agree. Yeah, so that's it basically. It sounds very similar to what I was reading by Astronaut Capital. But yes, that's really it for now, guys. So yeah, I hope, you know, my review of LendingBlock Token of the Week has been of use to you. You know, I really like the project. I really think it's cool, and I definitely, if I get the opportunity to be buying any more LND under the ICO price, I definitely will be buying more lending tokens. If you want to find out more, you know, about the token, 2 things. I suggest you look at the white paper, but more importantly, look at this token paper as well. It's a really good document, and it shows you, you know, how their LND token expects to work. So, yep, I'm finished with my review. If this has been helpful to you, please like, please share, please subscribe. And yes, if you've got any comments, just put it in the video below. This is brothercrypt signing out for Token of the Week. Well done, LendingBlock. Take care. Bye.